The Naira showed resilience against the dollar on Thursday this week, gaining by as much as 1 Naira 12 kobo at the INE window. A similar close was seen at the NAFEX rate despite the illiquidity in the market. Bosun Obembe, FX and derivatives trader at Access Bank, joins me for some market updates. Bosun, thank you for taking the time out to join us. Let's start with the Naira and this strength that we saw against the US dollar at the INE window. Help us understand what the key drivers were.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. What we've seen so far, we've seen CBN trying to stabilize the Naira, and if you look at the news of the Eurobond issuance that is coming very soon, and the special drawing right, so that actually is giving the CBN the capacity to actually intervene more in the FX market. So what we've seen is we've seen some calm, though we still have a lot of FX demand, but month to date, in terms of turnover, we've seen about $2.5 billion trading in the INE window, and we've seen people that before now will have taken their funds through the alternative market. So because of the directive from the CBN, so we have seen funds coming into the official market. That's why we're seeing this appreciation.
Okay, so two questions. How much longer do you think, or do you think this can be sustained? Could we see the Naira strengthen further? And this backlog that we keep talking about, I haven't heard I haven't seen any or heard, if the CBN is making any progress in clearing this backlog. Do we have any indication whatsoever that the CBN has been able to significantly clear this backlog that we keep talking about?
Okay, in terms of the backlog, I think Ben has actually been clearing the backlog. Every week, we've seen intervention to the foreign portfolio investors, and the intervention started last year, but CBN commenced it again this year. So CBN has been consistent intervening in the investor and exporters, though solely to the foreign portfolio investor. So, but what we've not been seeing fresh fund coming into the system from the offshore investor due to the fact that some of them they see have some funds that they're not taking up. But the backlog, I don't think it's more than like maybe $1 to $2 billion at the moment. CBN has, if you look at the results, CBN has the capacity to actually clear this FX demand. And if you look at yesterday, there was a homo auction by CBN. So, which if this is consistent, then we'll see maybe some of the offshore coming back into the system. And given the improvement that we witnessed in the, if you look at our GDP for second quarter, that closed at, we had 5.01. So it's an indication that we might be seeing maybe an increase in rate, which will actually spur the interest of these foreign investors back into our market.
But I'd like to still stay on the FX point. Could we see an impact on the parallel market? Usually, of course, we know that parallel market sometimes does move in tandem with movement at the official market. But is this something we're going to see happening?
For the parallel market, when we start seeing the offshore bringing in the funds, then we will see the current pressure that we see in the parallel market. It will actually come. That is it's the game of demand and supply, because the supply currently is quite limited, largely skewed towards a few exporters and the CBN. So by the time we see the foreign investor coming into the market, what we'll see is we'll see few people patronizing the parallel market. There will be a lot of supply, and the rate at the parallel market will actually come down. So we just have to wait and see what unfolds in the next maybe few months, and see where the rate on the fixed income instrument will trip. I expect that it should go up, given the improvement that we've seen in our economic phase. So we are currently at the we've gone past the recovery stage. So, and most of the things we are expecting, there'll be a lot of improved confidence in the market, and I expect that the short rate interest rate will start moving up. The bond yield will continue to be stable, and the stock price will trend upward as well. So for me, I think the parallel market rate will calm down. That is when we start seeing more interest from the foreign portfolio investor.
Now, Bosun, one of the highlights of trading this week was the DMO auction, and where we saw the 364-day paper coming down to somewhere around 6.8 from over 7%. How do you see this impacting trading going forward? Should we expect this rate to continue to decline, since we know that demand continues to outweigh supply at the market?
And in my opinion, I think it's not going to. I think we've gotten to like a peak. So before now, there has been low supply of security in the market because CBN actually there was no auction on the HOMO space. But now that CBN has started the HOMO and the rate is quite higher than what was obtained in the NTB space. So I expect that, and with the improvement in the GDP rate, so I expect that the rate will start going up again. So for me, the reason why we have that decline, and it wasn't significant to compare it to the last auction, the 365 they moved by 55 basis points compared to what we witnessed at the previous NTB auction. The 91 days and the 182 day B, they remain stable. So I expect that the rate will actually trend up at the next auction.